less ethical than most other politicians. Now, in light of what has gone on recently with Hillary Clinton, I don't know how the number is so low at 44%. I don't, it's even if you even if you are asking 100% Democrats, I do not understand how you think. Well, I guess it depends on what you consider ethics to be. Is it ethical to lie to people? Yeah, if it's going to get you what you want. Yeah, some people will say, yeah, that it's ethical to lie. I mean, Islam, says it's okay to lie to the infidel. It's okay. So I guess it really depends on what you believe is ethical and what you believe is unethical, which is scary in and of itself. To think that our country's, our nation's morals are so fleeting. People can be so flippant about morals that they can justify just about anything and then consider themselves to be ethical. They can lie to your face and still consider that to be ethical because, the ends justifies the means, so they would say. Maybe my kind of ethics and my kind of morals, maybe they are dying. I don't know. But if they are, as humans, as a race of beings on this planet, we're in big, huge trouble. Huge trouble. Now, just look around you and see everything. Look, you have politicians, especially on the left, that are using the recent Amtrak tragedy. We're now up to 8. And I guess the report I saw today was that all passengers have been accounted for, and other than 8, everybody else is alive and doing okay. So I guess the number is going to stop climbing now. 8 is going to be it. That's sad. People just get on a train and their life ends. And we have some politicians and others, especially on the left, who are trying to use this as a means to get what they want. Now, even Obama is now saying, well, hey, we need to spend more on infrastructure. And this sort of thing wouldn't happen if we spent what I said we should spend on infrastructure. Now, I think that's lower than low. That is showing absolutely no common courtesy to the people and families of this tragedy, for one. It is not a method. It's a lie, for one. And now you're not only being, in my book, you're being unethical by using this tragedy. You're lying while using this tragedy to get what you want. And there are plenty of people who think that is perfectly justified and ethical. So I guess I can, now that as I'm talking to you about it, I fully understand how only 44% think that Hillary Clinton is less ethical than most other politicians. Well, I want to know who they consider to be less ethical than Hillary. Evidently it's not Obama. But is this the highest percentage of any 2016 presidential candidate or potential candidate in this Fox News poll? Now, this is a Fox News poll, by the way. Yes, I just disclosed it. I openly disclosed it. I apologize for not disclosing it before I said it. Yeah, that's. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do a George Stephanopoulos here. I apologize that I did not disclose it before I disclosed it. That this was Fox News poll. 29% said Mrs. Clinton was more ethical than most, and 24%. 29, almost a third, think that Mrs. Clinton is more ethical than most politicians? My head is going to explode. Are you kidding me? Nearly 1/3 of those polled in a Fox News poll. And Fox tends to be on target with their polls, but let's understand that Fox is right-leaning. So that number might actually be slightly higher. Because all polls they have a margin of error, anywhere from 2 to 4%, right? So think that within the margin of error, 1/3 of people in this country, then one can take away this: that 1/3 of the American people believe that Mrs. Clinton, former First Lady, former United States Senator from New York, former Secretary of State under Barack Obama, believe that she is more ethical than most other politicians. I would hate to see what other politicians these people are comparing her to in their own mind. 24% said that she's about the same, ethically speaking, as all the others. Now, 36% thought former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee was more ethical than most other politicians, compared to 18% who said he was less ethical, and 27% said he was about the same. Now, going down the Fox poll goes down a list, but here's a couple of others for the more or less and about the same, respectively. Senator Rand Paul, 33% say he's more ethical, 20% say he's less ethical, and 30% say he's about the same. And Governor Jeb Bush, 26% say he's more ethical, 28% say he's less ethical. Nearly a third of the people think that Bush is on par with Hillary? Oh, I'm sorry. That might be construed as being sexist because I used Hillary's first name of Hillary. Mrs. Clinton. I don't know. That's probably sexist too, calling her Mrs. Clinton. Marco Rubio, 26% say he's more ethical. 19% believe that he's less ethical, and 33% say he's about the same. Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz, 23% say he's more ethical. 25% say he's less ethical, and 30% say he's about the same. Governor Scott Walker, 22% versus 18%. And 29% say he's about the same as the rest. And Governor Chris Christie, 17% say he's more ethical, and 37% believe he's less ethical, and 31% believe that he's about the same. So, to put it in perspective, in other words, you have 29% say that Hillary's more ethical than others. Most other politicians. But when you get right down to it, they then go ahead and try to say that Chris Christie, sitting governor, is less ethical than Hillary. Only 17%? Really? Where is our country going? What do people believe what do they believe the definition of ethics and ethical is? I don't know. Are we teaching ethics anymore? I don't think that we are. There you have it. So I guess if they were to actually start putting asking this type of a poll towards news anchors, many people would probably think that George is, ethical, and that it was not necessarily unethical to not disclose that he donated to the Clinton Family Foundation. Well, after all, he says, "Hey, look, they're doing the work that I believe in wholeheartedly. I was being ethical in donating because I was donating in something that I believed in and that they were doing and trying to attain." But hey, my donations are private. Well, yeah, one can say, that stuff is private, sure. But not when you are trying to sway and persuade the national electorate one direction or another. It would be this. Well, let's face it. Let's think. I don't know if Megyn Kelly. Now, let's be fair here. If Megyn Kelly gave $50,000 to, say, President George Bush for George Bush Foundation, and then tried to protect Jeb Bush and gave him all kinds of preferential treatment, do you think? And it came out later, and she never disclosed it, and it came out later that she gave $50,000 to President George Bush's foundation. Do you think that the left would just say, well, hey, it's ethical, it's just a slip of the mind? No, they would be jumping all over it, calling for her to be fired. And then after they got her fired, they'd be calling for her to be hung, drawn, and quartered. Oh, she should be in jail. That's how they would react if Megyn Kelly or anybody else on the right, or they perceived to be on the right, would have done exactly what George Stephanopoulos did. They would not consider them to be ethical. They consider George to be ethical, obviously. They would not. Look, we got Brian Williams, a known, proven, admitted liar. And people, more and more people are saying, yeah, George, Brian Williams should come back, be back on the news. He should be sitting back in his anchor chair. I mean, after all, it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, this is what we get all the time. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think Brian Williams should come back. How can you trust him? Oh, well, he admitted that he lied. So, but he was just misremembering the facts, and that he was trying to get his point and his story across. And what was important was the story. So in the case of Stephanopoulos, what's important is a story that George is trying to get out. Forget the fact that he's trying to protect the Clintons, and he's running the first line of defense for them and all that kind of stuff. He's just trying to get the narrative out. That's all. Because it's a narrative that it's a politically correct narrative, so that's fine. And Brian Williams is just trying to get a politically correct narrative out there because everybody feels the same way that Brian felt. And let's face it, he really wishes that all the stuff that he said were true. Like Clinton landing under fire that was a blatant lie, but she wishes that she landed under fire like that. Under sniper fire. She just wanted to portray what it was like to be over there, to get the narrative out about how other people have to go through this, and we shouldn't be there, and people shouldn't have to live like that and go under that kind of condition. So what she was trying to do was noble, and that she should have worded it differently. That's all. Brian Williams should have worded those answers and those statements differently. Stephanopoulos should have, mentioned some things differently. But after all, it's all about the narrative. And that's what counts to the left. That's ethics to them.